You look like you lost your
I
child.
can't find my pencil.
Oh, well, it was inside the water dropper. At least the graphite was. I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Bryn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for helping people with their money and all things business. Bryn is my co-host.
And I'm a marketing girl. I am literally obsessed with it. Oh, and Josh has showed me how to save money. Quite a bit, actually.
Because of her obsession, I hired her to do my marketing.
And we've worked together for 10 years.
We launched Sigman Sense in 2020, a podcast about money. It's a podcast that teaches people how to save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early.
And we recorded and published 34 episodes. People liked it, and it was so fun.
But most importantly, we helped people. So we're excited to announce we're doing a second season. And we're mixing things up. We're moving away from money talks to focus on all things business. Leadership, management, team building, book reviews, hiring, firing, operations.
Motivating teams, lead generation, time management, personality profiling, closing skills.
And of course, money.
And marketing.
We are inviting you to continue this journey with us, and we want your input. What topics would you like to see covered? Email all of your ideas to our podcast email address, sigmansense@gmail.com.
And be sure to click that subscribe button when you visit our channels. You'll get notified when we drop new episodes.
Are you ready? Season 2, Getting Down to Business. Welcome to Sigman Sense. Welcome back to Sigman Sense. We are going to keep on with our conversation about sales skills in general. Yeah, we're going to talk about one that most salespeople are very, very, very weak at.
Very weak.
Very weak at. So just a reminder, there's 4 parts to a sale, just a thought process. There's initial contact, building rapport, closing skills, and follow up, right? So those in theory the 4 parts. So initial contact, obviously making the first contact, doing your sales pitch, getting the door open, getting the meeting or whatever.
Making the call.
Making the list, all that fun stuff. We covered that a couple episodes ago. Building rapport. You know, people that like people are usually best at this area. Like if you were to poll, 1,000 salespeople that like people, they're all going to say, I'm not great at getting clients, but if I get in front of me, I can make a relationship, right? And
also the biggest trap that those people fall in is that they never get to the sale. They never get to the point.
Yeah.
Because
they just want to be friends. Friend zone.
And they're nervous to go for the sale because they don't want to be offensive or whatever. And the more successful people you meet with don't want their time wasted, and that's what that feels like. Like why were we here?
We're here for an hour chit-chatting about everything.
And we have nothing. There's nothing to say for it. Yeah.
Yep. So building rapport is the second piece. The closing skills, which we'll get to in a couple more episodes here coming up, is the third piece, and then the last piece is follow-up. And so when you really I've done this probably 100 times in rooms, so these are not fictitious numbers. If I have a room full of 100 people and I said, raise your hand, and if you were only allowed to raise your hand one time, what percentage of people would raise their hand and say, that is my natural gift. I am naturally initial contact. It's my gift from God. Naturally, I'm a rapport builder. Naturally, I've got crazy closing skills. Naturally, I'm a great follow-up person. Then what it typically looks like is somewhere around 10 to 15% of the room will say that they're naturally gifted at initial contact.
Right.
So out of every 100, there's maybe 10 that are gifted, and they say that's what I love the most.
Which is like saying I love cold calling.
I love cold calling, right. So 10 out of 100 call it. There will be, for the building rapport part, there's literally 60, 70% of the room, that range, will say, just get somebody in front of me and they're going to like me, right? There's actually a pretty decent range of 10 to 15% that will say closing skills is their skill set, that they don't really like the initial contact. They're not really great at people skills, but they're really great at the process of sales.
Yeah.
And so that closing skill piece they're actually good at. And then the remaining, 10% or so, plus or minus, is the follow-up, is what they're naturally gifted at. And so when you kind of walk through this process, when you and I were preparing for this conversation, one of the things that we both agree on is there's so much time, energy, and money spent before you get to a close, and follow-up is all it takes to keep somebody tight. And if you drop the ball in follow-up, either before the sale or even after the sale, it is going to cost you the sale or cost you the relationship, but there's a huge cost separate of the time and energy and marketing costs before that point even happened.
Yes.
So dropping the ball in the follow-up is just an absolute screw up, in my opinion.
God, it's really bad.
It's too darn expensive. If you never open the door in the initial contact, you wasted a phone call.
Correct.
If you blow it at the meeting, you've wasted an hour.
Right.
Right.
And you can try again.
Right. If you blow it in trying to close, maybe you're off by pricing or product or service. You could have not been meant to be that person's salesperson anyways.
But you can also call and say, I made a mistake.
I need to
fix
and you can
it.
still preserve a relationship,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But if you blow it with follow-up, you don't get any of the other time.
Yeah, because here's what that call looks like. So sorry that I took an hour of your time and literally forgot you the moment that I left.
Yep.
Can I have another shot?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm good.
Sorry, I called I called you 5 times and you never called me back. That's great. That's great. That's genius as a work.
It's just not great.
So follow-up is necessary. Some people are good at it. Most are not. There's obviously some different avenues we can talk about. You can talk about automation of it is one piece of it. One of them is being more personal, like the art of the handwritten letter is missing from so many.
And I think we tie in listening.
Yep.
And here's what I mean by that. If you are listening closely during your conversations, there are going to be things that you'll see in the days to come or the weeks to come that remind you of something that person said. And what a great opportunity to send them a text and be like, you'll never believe I just saw a green Porsche like you were talking about, and that is a form of follow-up. It shows you were listening.
Yep. I love that.
So yeah. So
and I also think we have to disseminate that there's 2 pieces of this, right? There's follow-up before the sale, like after initial contact and building rapport, but before the sale. But there's also follow-up that should be done after the sale. And I'll give you an example. Like, so National Association of Realtors will tell you that most, like the vast majority, like 90% of clients cannot remember the name of their loan officer or realtor 5 years after they bought a house.
Yeah.
Cannot remember the name. Okay. So what that shows you is somebody spent time, energy, money to market. They actually built rapport enough for them to stay with them to help them buy a house. And then after they bought the house, they were a checkbox, they were a number, they were a commission, and they never follow up again. And the cost loss is that usually people buy and sell 4 to 5 times every 5 years total, every 5 years, 4 to 5 times in a lifetime, separate of their referrals.
I mean,
so they've got brothers, sisters, moms, dads, and friends. And if we just kept in touch and followed up with those clients after the sale, it's not the one deal, it's the 30.
Yes, and this is where I get on my soapbox because as a marketing person, a lot of what marketing falls in the follow-up. And how are we going to make sure that we maintain and retain
top of mind?
How do we say top of mind after the sale? Yet, most often salespeople would rather go pay money, lots of money,
to buy a cold
for
lead.
new cold as shit leads that take so much time to convert, and you have to call them 9,000 times only to literally get the money, boom, make the sale, and then drop it like it's hot and go buy more friggin' leads. When the cost per deal, oh my gosh, like just send an email once a month. Like you can do that for free, bro. Like, or I mean, it's bizarre. And marketing's always the first thing that like, oh, times are tight. Let's cut the marketing. Like that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute to me, but yet it's always where minds go. Times are really tough. We don't have enough business. Let's cut the marketing and go buy leads.
Yep. So let me paint a picture for just how drastic of a business rise this can be if you just follow up after the sale. So this is literally the second piece, right? Like not before the sale, the after the sale follow up. So based on our tracked numbers for a decade, our little loan team closes 300% of what the average loan officer does per year in just repeat business from past clients. 300%. That's not new business. That's not biller business. That's not business partner. We are 300% more than the national average for what loan officers do on repeat business, right? And so the point is like, let's just talk about that. What do we do?
What do we
There's
do?
like really 4 things that we do for past
I
clients.
mean, first and foremost, so direct mail. So we start direct mailing them every single month. So they're going to start getting hard mail. And, I love the shift that has happened, because I think there was a time period where everybody was saying, oh my gosh, like direct mail, like, what are you, like 95, right?
Yep.
Like that's a thing of the past. Everybody went so digital that direct mail now had like this
Stands
pedestal,
out. Yep.
this pedestal. And so, so we mail to them, and we have events. So we'll do a couple of events every single year. One thing I'll point out is one thing I'm really, really big about.
And these are events for past clients.
For past clients.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm really big about consistency and not trying to think of something new and fabulous all the time, although there is an element of that. I typically try to make the same event better. So I'm not having to recreate the wheel. I'm just trying to make whatever is there a little bit more elevated. But what comes with that is trust. They start to know what to expect. So if you are constantly throwing out a different idea of an event, or you're constantly throwing different stuff at them, they don't really, it takes a long time for people to connect with what you're trying to accomplish, which is top of mind. And they want you. So once you start mailing to them every single month, they get used to that. Once you have the same events twice a year that look very similar in nature as far as the invite goes and what's going to happen, there's trust. Now they know what to expect. They can look forward to it rather than be anxious about what's going to happen. So I think the reason a lot of follow-up doesn't happen is because of things like that people think, oh my gosh, well, I don't know what to say or how to say it or what to do. And it stands in their way of follow-up. So we have our events. We have, what else we have? We have calls. We have HomeBot that, we'll give them. We have our videos. Yeah. Email database. Yeah. All of the market information and things that they should know. And so it kind of tailors a little bit to everyone.
Yep.
Because the people that get the direct mail may not be into the email videos. The people that want to come to events may not ever check their mail, and vice versa. So I think you have to have kind of different layers of.
Yeah, and I think they say that what they say, trust is gained in drips and lost in buckets, right? And so a lot of people in most industries of any kind, sales wise, they are bad at follow-up, except for bigger corporations that understand it. So think about car dealerships, right? Guaranteed after you buy that car, you're going to get a call probably within 30 days from the customer service rep to make sure that you had a great experience. You're for sure going to get a couple free oil changes when you buy a new car to get you in the habit of going to the service department. They're going to be mailing to you once a year about the trade-in values of the new cars and old cars. They're going to, you're always going to get your warranty information. They're going to let you know when something is out, if there's a recall. But there's this constant follow-up drip that comes from that one purchase, which keeps that dealership, that car type in your mind. And if they do a good job of that, you're probably going to go back. That's why in Texas, you have Ford people and you have Chevy people. Like you go back to Chevy or you go back to Ford. You don't cross the paths. It's not allowed here, right?
So true.
But it's just one of those examples. And yet in the service industry, people claim to be like, I like the worst one I always hear is I'm a realtor for life, right? But statistically speaking, if you can't remember their name 5 years later, they've done a horrible job of keeping in touch with you. It's not your fault. It's that service professional's fault that you're not top of mind because they didn't do a great job in the follow-up. So the other thing we have to flip to though is the pre-close, right? Because especially in the service industry, in the financial industries, there's usually, or big purchases in general, there's usually some time that passes between that first meeting and actually having a sale in the first place. So, again, there's something that we have to dive into as far as what's the automation look like, because if you have a lot of clients or a lot of leads or whatever that looks like, then all of a sudden there's a whole lot to do. But automation's not enough, because if it's just automation, we all know what a spam email looks like.
Exactly.
So that's not really the answer. It could be a supplementation, but it's not
Right.
the answer. So what does that look like for a, personal touch? What does it look like for an initial follow-up? Which I'd like to dive into, which I personally do thank you cards a lot.
Yeah.
But between thank you cards, between videos, between invitations, explanations, next steps, not just for us, but what kind of advice would you give for follow-up there?
Yeah. So when you said that, it reminded me of what we do, which is a new prospect checklist.
Yep. I love that.
It's only the starting point though. So, and here's what I mean by that, like things that are on our new prospect checklist. And just to give some context, after we meet with a new prospect for the first time, then
so it's a potential referring partner.
Okay. We've had a face-to-face appointment with them. So
you built rapport.
We built rapport. We've prepped them that they will be on this system that I'm about to explain. So they know what to expect, which I think is huge. We come back to the office and we do the new prospect checklist. So it looks like a thank you note from me as a salesperson, Justine as a salesperson, an email to you. Hey, here, I just met with this person. Here's some bullet points about our conversation. Give them a call and introduce yourself. Mm-hmm. I need to put them in multiple different places. I need to put them in Outlook. I need to put them on our accounts pyramid. I need to put them on our email distribution list. I need to add them here. There's probably 5 or 6 places that they have to go, because I need every single one of those lists or places have different purposes and intention. If they're not in Outlook, the first time that they send a lead, the team's not going to be able to follow up with them because they don't have their email address or their phone number and they're waiting on me to give it. That's shitty customer service right off the bat. They need to be invited to our next class. And if I don't put them on the database immediately, they're going to miss the invite. So just a checklist of things that have to happen. The checklist is not memorized and it has to be followed, right? Like a lot of times it's like, oh no, I don't need to look at it anymore because I know what's on there. No, you have to follow the checklist. Like pull it out, make sure you cover everything. What else is on there? Next follow-up date.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. So what's the next plan? What do we have? What's their birthday? And do we get their birthday on the birthday campaign list? Did we add their birthdays to the calendar? Did we invite them to be a part of our social media pages? So point is, there's a lot that we do in the beginning to like bear hug and bring them into our world. Mm-hmm. Because here, and this is why, exactly what you alluded to earlier, the more people you have, the more prospects you have, the more clients you have, the more there is to do. There is going to be a time where your day hits the fan. You can't stay on track. You can't make the calls you're supposed to make. You need to have a backup plan
that's on autopilot.
Yep. Has to. And so you can also continue to prospect because you're going to be in appointments. You're going to be on the phone and you can't necessarily, you want to make sure that there's a solid plan and next steps to keep that relationship moving forward. So that way you don't get in that awkward lull of like, they haven't sent me any deals. I thought I closed. Maybe I didn't close. Maybe they were telling me what I want to hear. Mm-hmm. How do I go back now and say, hey, can we like redo that first appointment? You can't do that. So you got to like put things in place to move the relationship forward, which is huge. That's a huge piece of it.
So if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't have time, energy, or money to do that. Let me tell you that it took 10 years to get that, right?
Yeah.
Like it took time and energy. We basically came up with a dream list years ago before I even hired you when we were sitting at having coffee or breakfast. And here's the 140 things that I'm not doing.
So many
and here's the things we have to start checking off and the list gets smaller and smaller
and
over time.
And I still have a wish list.
Of course.
We still have a wish list of stuff.
So let me kind of say, like, let's use a starting point. Like anyone working out of their garage can do what I did. And this is for selling widgets. I don't care. But what I did when it comes to people, like how do you follow up and stay in touch with and track the relationships of people, is all I did is I made an Excel spreadsheet with 4 columns. And the 4 columns were the name, the number, and then shoot 6. Name, number, and then the 4 week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So there's 6 columns. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, though, was broken down into mail, call, visit, email.
Yeah.
Right? So what that meant was as I added relationships over time,
Mm-hmm.
clients over time that I wanted to stay in relationship with, my whole game was I need to touch everyone on this list every single week. And my goal was to not do the same thing more than once a
More than
month,
once. Yeah.
right? So just like you would leave an appointment, now you're adding them to 6 different things.
Right.
I was by myself, new little rookie salesperson, business owner at the time. And how do you start that process of follow-up when you suck which is my problem. I'm very, very bad at follow-up, so I have to have a process.
Yeah, you have to have a
It was
process.
I'd add them to that thing. And so week 1 would be a thank you card. So Bryn, thank you so much for meeting with me. And I want you guys to listen. There's an art to the thank you card because if you listen in the appointment, then it's really easy to write a great card.
Yes.
So Bryn, it was so great to meet with you. I know your time is super valuable. So the hour at Starbucks was very, very, very worthwhile to me. It was great to connect, knowing that we both have boys that play baseball. What I heard you say is really important to you in business is A, B, and C. What I heard that you hate about this industry is A and B. If I missed anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to following up with you on this date or with this meeting regarding this. And so the card is a crisp, succinct demonstration that I care about who you are because I connected on baseball. I heard what you like. I repeated back what you don't like. And I gave you an option to correct me if I missed something. But that's what a good thank you card looks like. So week 1 was that card. So week 2.
And I want to point out too that in order to like pull this off, you have to develop a system behind the system. So like, where are your thank you cards? Do you have stamps? Like that.
There's calendar time on.
Do you have a pen? Do you have cards? Do you have envelopes? Do you have stamps? Like it sounds simple, but it's very real.
Have time on your calendar to write the cards.
Have time on your calendar. Jack Daly always says, keep them in your car. Write the note right there.
He calls it the money bag,
which is great. That's great advice. That kind of goes into time management, though. I mean, you have to allow yourself enough time to like, write the card in between appointments, but make sure you've got your stuff prepared.
Yeah, I love that because keep it simple, stupid, right? So don't go buy a card, go buy 100.
A lot.
Right? So the week 1 would be the thank you card, handwritten. Number 2, though, the next week I might send a video tip or something of value. I read this article and I want to share local knowledge about our industry or about the marketplace, right? So that's the email. Now I can't do that, right? Week 3 would be a phone call saying, hey, Bryn, I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks. Did you receive that article I sent you last week?
Right.
I really look forward to working with you. And I might on that appointment is, hey, can you believe it's already been a month? Can I schedule time to catch up with you for happy hour next week?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm rescheduling a new appointment because relationships require nurturing. This last 12 months has been weird.
It's been weird.
You know, if anyone, this is obviously being posted here in 2021. So 2020 was kind of a bust for face-to-face.
Yeah.
But I think you can maintain relationships virtually. I don't think you can build easily relationships.
Yeah. It's a little more difficult.
I think you can start relationships. I don't think you can create blossoming, unbelievable friendships, right? So, and what that takes is quality time together. So you got to keep on setting another appointment. Now, one little trick as you progress, and maybe, oh my God, I'm setting too many appointments in that follow-up is also setting recurring appointments. So if you have somebody that you guys are really starting to connect and you're starting to work together in the service industry or whatever, and you really want to see them every month, then why would you schedule an appointment every month by a phone call? Why wouldn't you just say, Bryn, like, I really like you. Do you just want to grab Starbucks every first Tuesday of every single month? They can do a recurring calendar right now with my smartphone. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. And I think that is such a logical idea and it works beautifully. I think what stands in the way of that is, what am I going to talk about? Like I get, like people get really nervous. Like, what am I? So here's the tip. Like you either bring a review of last month's results of y'all's partnership together, even if that is nothing, because that is what you talk about.
Yeah.
That's what you talk about. So if it's a realtor lender type situation or whatever, like, hey, here's the leads that we had. Here's the results. How do you feel about it? I feel good about it. Whatever. That's something great. The other thing is a lesson or a tip or something that you've learned. Like, hey, I just saw this great speaker about thank you. His name's Mr. Thank You. It's super awesome. And like, here's, I wanted to share this with you, some stuff that I learned. So try not to stress about it and just have your go-tos. I'm either going to review or I'm going to bring something of value. That way you have something in your back pocket if
Yeah, and I love that you said that because I want you to hear what Bryn just said. If you bring something of value to every meeting, why would they ever not meet with you?
Ever.
Right. So, and it doesn't have to be original thought process. You just referenced a
No.
speaker we just listened
Yeah.
to, and actually, I think the guy's a genius in his own way. John Israel wrote a great book. If you struggle with thank you cards and gratitude, he wrote a book called Mr. Thank You, and it's turned into a TED Talk. So if you want to look that up, the TED Talks project called the Mr. Thank You Project, and basically all he did was not all he did because it took hours of his day every day.
Yeah.
But for 365 days, John Israel wrote 5 thank you cards every single day. The rules were 5 a day. If he missed a day, he had to give $1,000 to charity. He could not write the same letter to more than the same person more than 3 times in a year.
Yeah.
And he writes in his book and talks about TED Talk the things that he learned. And I think it's super interesting. Like we all know that handwritten art is a lost art. Like I just learned I didn't know this about our own public schooling system here in Texas, that there were a couple of years that my kids attended school that they didn't teach writing cursive.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it blows my mind and I'm angry about it.
And KK missed it.
Yeah.
They stopped in the years that she was in school, picked it up.
Again.
They picked it up. So Weston and Walker are both learning it. But here's what I think is even crazier. Like in my head, I can think, okay, I can logically see why like his cursive would go because we're moving to a more digital platform. But they're not teaching keyboarding either.
Right.
They're not teaching how to type.
That's crazy.
So now we're not reading. Now we're not now we're not writing. Now we're not typing.
Right.
It's weird.
Don't worry, you're just into social media.
They don't have signatures because all they know how to do is print.
That's crazy.
It's weird shit. It's weird. It's super weird.
So that needs to be corrected.
Yes, it does.
Texas.
It has been corrected. Well, the cursive has.
They're getting better. But yeah, so my point though is going back to John Israel, there's a couple cool things that come up in there. And one of the things that we've been talking about, I claim to like you, but I never call you, right? Follow up.
Mm-hmm.
I claim that I want to be your realtor for life, but I never email you or mail you or let you know when your values went up because of lack of follow up. I did all this work to get you to an appointment, but I never call you again, follow up again, or do what I said I was going to do in that appointment, lack of follow up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I learned, and it's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, is something that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And I love the quote. And John Israel said, yeah, that's what I'm quoting him is. It says, I'm sorry I can't hear you because who you are speaks too loudly.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't claim to be somebody that you're not, and certainly don't make promises that you don't follow up with and keep.
Oh, that's
right?
the worst. Yeah.
And so I think that's a great way to end this little session. But just being clear that if you are great at one of the 4 parts of a sale, if you're average at 2 of the 3 parts of a sale, and you suck ass at the 1/4 of the 4 parts of the sale, you are always going to be average at best in this industry or any industry that you're in.
Yeah, because I really think that what you lack in closing skills, you can make up and follow up.
Yep.
You
lack in your building rapport, you can make up in follow up.
You can 100%. And I will finish with this. I think there's probably 2 reasons that people don't follow up. And the first one is nerves and anxiety around what to say, how to say it. And that is a real thing. It's like, well, I've already met with them once. What the hell am I going to say again? What am I going to say 2 days from now when I call them again? We just met. So that's a real thing, and get over it. Like, here's your one-liner. I was just thinking about you. That's it. I was just thinking about you and wanted to call you. That's all you have to say, and just let the conversation.
And they'll engage or they won't.
The other reason is lack of organization.
Yep.
And so don't go big.
Best intentions.
Best intentions, for sure. For sure. We all have best intentions. But as far as organization goes, don't go big, go really small as far as what you're going to commit your business to. Like, I'm just going to start by writing everybody a thank you note.
Yeah.
That's it. Master that, then move on. But get your system in place, get organized around follow-up. Otherwise, don't make the calls in the first place because it's a freaking waste of time.
Yep. Guys, I hope that was very helpful. We will see you next time on Sigman Sense. Until then, we'd love to hear any of your stories. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, for sure.
How can they reach us?
Sigmansense@gmail.com. And then make sure you subscribe and like and tell all your friends and all of that good stuff. And hope you're enjoying the episodes.
Yeah, I certainly am. And now I'm going to go pick up my kiddos from baseball. So I'm
going to
out of here.
Watch some baseball.
Bye, guys.